After 20 years on the run, a man who was one of the world's most notorious terrorists has been captured. The alarming spread of the AIDS virus among people who may have thought they were old enough to know better. And is it worth billions of dollars of your money to build a submarine that critics say we don't need?
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Sitting in tonight, Forrest Sawyer.
Good evening. French police tonight are holding the man whose name has come to symbolize international terrorism, Carlos the Jackal, whose real name is Ilyich Ramirez Sanchez, has been accused of masterminding some of the world's most notorious crimes. The capture of Carlos has been reported many times before, all false alarms. This time the French government says it is for real. Here's ABC's Mike Lee.
Even in police custody, he continued to be the center of intrigue after 20 years. About all photographers could see was a handkerchief, then just a glimpse of a face that brought back memories of those mug shots of the most publicized terrorist suspect in this century. Yet today,
Pasqua said that French police had tracked Carlos in Sudan for the past 8 months.
Thanks, Jack.
Está usted usando redes ilegales. Va contra la ley española.
Science. Police of the 19
was about to commit
Never used the speakerphone.
of French justice and will be judged for his crimes, says the Interior Minister Charles Pasqua. Carlos, seen here in a secret Hungarian government video 10 years ago, is said by the French to have murdered a number of French citizens through bombings and shootings. He boasted of being a super terrorist. I am a saint, a holy man who works miracles, he said. In 1975, he is known to have kidnapped a group of OPEC oil ministers for a large ransom. It was a spectacular event. His name soon was connected in the media with dozens of major terrorist acts, but with little or no proof. For example, he was widely reported to be behind the massacre of the Israeli athletes at the '72 Munich Olympics, but the Israeli government has no evidence that he was and has never issued a warrant for his arrest. Nor do the Israelis believe he was behind the incident at Entebbe Airport in Uganda in 1976. Israeli passengers were taken hostage, 3 of them killed. The rest were rescued in a daring counter-raid by Israeli security forces.
Carlos became a favorite whipping boy for various countries and various services, and so he was blamed for a lot of things that he wasn't responsible for.
Officials from dozens of countries will be wanting to question Carlos behind these prison walls. But the French say they have first crack at trying to determine how much of the jackal is myth or murderer. Mike Lee, ABC News, Paris.
Crime was also the focus in this country today as President Clinton makes an all-out effort to get his crime bill moving once again in the House. The question is, what compromises will he have to accept? Here's ABC's Britt Hume.
The White House gathered a sort of all-star team of crime victims as well as some uniformed police for today's crime bill event. There was Steve Sposato, whose wife was murdered in her office in San Francisco last summer. There was Janice Payne, mother of 9-year-old James Darby, who wrote to Mr. Clinton about his fear of being killed, only to be shot to death 9 days later. And Mark Klass, whose daughter Polly was kidnapped and murdered last October, introduced the president.
There is no more time to lose, I know, because our lives and the lives of our children can change in the blink of an eye.
What we do here is not about us. It is about the rest of America. So let's, Congress, hear this. Pass the Darby, Klass, Sposato crime bill and do it now.
Afterward, one who had been part of that event said that while there may be some extraneous spending in the crime bill, there's nothing unusual about that.
I don't think there's a piece of legislation that's ever passed in the Congress of the United States that didn't have some pork in it.
Press Secretary Dee Dee Meyer said the president was standing on what she called 4 principles on this bill, ranging from 100,000 new police to a ban on assault weapons. But that didn't mean there was no room to negotiate.
I'm certainly not going to rule out any reasonable compromises. At the same time, the president is standing by those 4 principles.
Well, she was asked, how about that $10 million research grant to Lamar University in Texas, which happens to be in the home district of House Judiciary Chairman Jack Brooks.
That's not one of the principles.
It is a measure of how tricky it might be to change this bill that when the powerful Brooks was asked if he might be willing to see that Lamar grant drop to help pass the measure, he replied, "Hell no. Are you out of your mind?" The White House is hoping to pass the bill without changing it. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
ABC's Cookie Roberts is following proceedings on Capitol Hill. Cookie, has the dust cleared enough for you to make sense out of what's going on?
Well, I think that the hope of the president to pass the bill without changing it is not a very great hope. He's out on the bully pulpit. He's trying to make it a crime versus anti-crime, him versus the people in Congress who are just holding up this important piece of legislation. But 435 members of the House voted publicly last week, and they've got to have some kind of change to cover themselves. Otherwise, why were they against it last week and for it this week? That's a little embarrassing.
I'm sure the White House doesn't want to consider it, but there is the possibility that the president could lose this one.
That's a very real possibility. So it's a risky strategy that he's making. And what people here are going to have to do is count the votes, which they tried last week and lost, keep in mind, but and see if they can figure a way to make just little changes and pass this bill for the president. But it's possible that they're going to have to make a big change, like taking the ban on assault weapons out.
On Capitol Hill, ABC's Cookie Roberts. Thank you, Cookie. In a moment, the senators are threatened with round-the-clock debates on health care. The AIDS virus threatens a segment of the population that never dreamed it would be at risk. And the O.J. Simpson case, a critical matter of time and a certain phone call.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by the all-new Ford Windstar.
The winds of change are blowing away old ideas and bringing the all-new Ford Windstar. A totally new minivan. Windstar's innovative design moves the wheels out, stretching the wheelbase, creating the most passenger and cargo room of all leading minivans. And with a quieter interior, Windstar takes the minivan in a whole new direction. The all-new front-wheel drive Ford Windstar. The future of minivans begins today.
Introducing Mylanta Soothing Lozenges. For the first time ever, and an acid in the form of a lozenge. For liquid relief as it dissolves in your mouth. New Mylanta Soothing Lozenges. My doctor said Mylanta.
I can't get anything that works better than Mycotin for my athlete's foot. But this great targeted spray gets more Mycotin into the places I need it most. Only Mycotin's got the targeted spray for a cure that gets in.
The battle over health care reform got nastier today. President Clinton and his allies on Capitol Hill are apparently so angry about how slowly the health care debate is going. The Senate's Democratic Majority Leader has issued an ultimatum to the Republicans. Here's ABC's John Cochran.
Late today, a frustrated George Mitchell said if Republicans don't stop stalling on health care reform by tomorrow night, he will order 24-hour sessions.
If there is going to be delay, then those senators who are going to delay will simply have to be here around the clock to do it.
Democrats blamed Republicans for refusing to vote on the first of what could be hundreds of amendments to Mitchell's bill. Democrats accused the Republicans of filibustering.
A filibuster by any other name is a filibuster. When you keep the Senate from moving forward and acting on the legislative process, that's a filibuster.
Bob Dole told the Chamber of Commerce that Democrats are confusing careful study with filibustering.
There's already the perception, and the liberal media is buying into it, that somehow the Republicans are stalling. Stalling. Because we want to know what's in the 1,400 and some page bill.
Republicans resorted to David Letterman tactics. The top 10 reasons the Mitchell bill won't fly.
Reason number 6. There are 50 new bureaucracies created in the Mitchell bill.
Mitchell and other Democrats may ask the Senate to vote to end lengthy debate. But that requires 60 votes. And the Democrats don't have them.
Even if we fail, I think the point will be made that we are beginning to see the prolonged debate for no other reason than to hear ourselves talk.
Already, by raising the threat of 24-hour sessions, the Democrats have shown that, like the Republicans, they're ready to play hardball on health care reform. John Cochran, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
And later in the program, some of today's debate as the senators compare costs of the Republican and Democratic plans. Still in Washington, The Social Security Administration today became an independent agency, no longer controlled by the Department of Health and Human Services. President Clinton signed the law saying an independent agency would be better shielded from political tampering. Mr. Clinton used the same pen held by Franklin Roosevelt when he signed Social Security into law 59 years ago. There is disturbing news to report about AIDS, disturbing particularly to one group of Americans. That's because in some parts of the country, like South Florida, San Diego, New York City, these people suddenly find themselves in the fastest growing segment of the AIDS population. Here's ABC's Michelle Norris.
Vincent Delgado passes out condoms and advice to senior citizens throughout Miami.
Be careful when you open. Don't rip the condom.
His mission is to reach an audience that is not always comfortable talking about sex, an audience largely ignored in public service campaigns about AIDS.
Did you bring it? I forgot it. Forget it.
Ads that target a younger audience can mislead older Americans.
They believe many of the stereotypes about HIV infection, that it's only young gay men or it's only IV drug users. And of course, anybody who's sexually active has the potential for becoming HIV infected.
Nationally, the number of AIDS and HIV patients who are 50 and older more than doubled between 1990 and 1993. Men and women over the age of 50 account for 10% of AIDS cases in the U.S. During the 1980s, most of those cases were attributed to tainted blood transfusions or homosexual contact, but that's changed in the 90s. Heterosexual transmission is now the leading cause of AIDS for the over 50 group.
I'm 52 years old. You know, I'm straight. I had one partner. You know, how could this possibly happen to me?
Joan Hawkins lives in Washington, D.C. She got AIDS from her boyfriend. He died more than 2 years ago after a long illness. But Joan didn't know that it was AIDS until recently.
When you reach 50, 60, 65, that does not mean that it's the end of your sex life. You know, it doesn't. So protect yourself, protect your loved ones.
That's the message that people like Vincent Delgado are trying to spread.
I have more, don't worry.
Helping older Americans realize that they must be ready and willing to protect themselves. Michelle Norris, ABC News, Washington.
Woodstock 94 is history, and now it's time for the cleanup. Tons of garbage, abandoned tents, and other refuse blanket the farm in Saugerties, New York, where some 350,000 people gathered for a weekend of music and mud. Cleanup's been slowed down by stragglers, some 25,000 people still at the site, even though the music stopped before dawn. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost more than 8 points today, closing at 3760. Trading was light. When we come back, O.J. Simpson's alibi and Nicole Simpson's last phone call.
If you have problems falling asleep, your world is about to change. Unisom sleep gels have a special liquid center and their maximum strength, so they're as effective as anything you can get without a prescription. They help you fall asleep fast and wake up refreshed. If you have problems falling asleep, try maximum strength Unisom sleep gels, a remarkable idea from Unisom.
This is a square inch. A wheat thin is the most real food deliciousness you can get in a square inch. The most genuine toastiness. The most crunchiness, the most munchiness. Wheat Thins, the most taste you can get in a square inch.
The interior of the new Honda Accord creates an open environment. It's roomy and comfortable and available in fine leather. The reinforced body is insulated to be quieter than ever. When you consider everything the new Accord has to offer, it becomes an open and shut case. The new Accord EX from Honda.
The one vitamin fits all concept has just been one-upped. Introducing today's One a Day with 5 formulas, like 55 Plus for mature adults with more C, E, and B vitamins than Centrum Silver. One a Day. We've got the one for you.
Tonight,
Mary Hart interviews Coach Hayden Fox.
You're not going to make me cry, are you?
You'll see the funniest highlights from 6 winning seasons on a special 1-hour Coach. Then it's a primetime NFL preseason special. The 2-time defending Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys tackle the Houston Oilers live from Mexico City right after Coach, tonight on ABC.
News tonight on O.J. Simpson's health. The other day, he had a biopsy taken of tissue from swollen lymph nodes. The results are in. His lawyer's office says he does not have cancer. Also news to report on the Simpson case that may be damaging to his alibi. ABC News has learned that phone company records show Nicole Simpson's final conversation occurred earlier than previously believed. Here's ABC's Bill Redeker.
In the transcript of the in-chamber session that was released last Friday, defense attorney Robert Shapiro is quoted as saying he believed the phone call from Mrs. Brown to her daughter Nicole occurred at 10:17. But ABC News has learned that it occurred much earlier. A source who has seen the telephone billing record says the call was made at 9:40 that night and lasted only 1 minute. We are also told it was the only call made between the two that night. Legal experts say Shapiro, who did not return our phone calls, may be trying to bolster Simpson's alibi that he was at home at the time of the murders. But the new information about the phone call clearly works against that.
This is a case about reasonable doubt. One way the defense can establish reasonable doubt is to show that this killing occurred sometime late between 10:30 and 11 o'clock. That time frame would make it impossible for Mr. Simpson to have done these crimes, destroyed evidence, and made the limousine.
ABC News has also confirmed published reports that Simpson's lead private investigator, John McNally, is being investigated by the FBI. The agency has investigated McNally in the past, but never brought charges. In 1989, federal prosecutors accused McNally of associating with mobsters and providing security for Gene Gotti, the younger brother of mobster John Gotti. McNally and 2 other Simpson investigators are not licensed as private investigators in California, which brought a warning last week from the State Department of Consumer Affairs to stop investigating or face a possible misdemeanor. Today, an attorney hired by the investigator says his clients are acting only as advisors and are not violating any laws. Bill Redeker, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Overseas again in the Middle East, a warning from Israel to the Palestine Liberation Organization. Keep the peace in Gaza, or the territory under Palestinian self-rule will not be expanded through the West Bank. The PLO is now in charge of protecting Israelis in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank town of Jericho, and it is having a tough time gaining control. Here's ABC's Dean Reynolds.
It was an angry and frustrated Prime Minister Rabin who went to Gaza today. 2 separate shootings here on Sunday, 1 Israeli killed and 6 others wounded. 39 such attacks since the advent of Palestinian self-rule in May, and not 1 arrest by the new Palestinian police, even though the Muslim group Hamas says it is responsible. The Palestinians have got to do something about this, Rabin said, or they can forget about having their self-rule extended.
We demand the Palestinian Authority to take measures to prevent or to make a real effort to cope with this threat.
PLO chief Yasser Arafat met all night on the issue with his advisors, and one of them today insisted the Palestinian police will meet the challenge.
We recognize very much that security here is our responsibility, and we are taking it very seriously.
Jews who live in Gaza don't believe that. Yesterday, they clashed with the Palestinian cops, each side firing warning shots before the Israeli army separated them. The Palestinians have so far detained and questioned more than 20 Muslim activists, but believe the actual gunmen are still at large, and their supporters are unbowed by the police action.
Do you think these arrests will deter Hamas and the Islamic movement from continuing the struggle and military action?
Never.
Responding to that militant position is now the job of the Palestinian police, but the Israelis will be watching more closely than ever before. Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Tel Aviv.
He never complains. He never says he's in pain. He says, I can handle it. But there are times when they can't handle it. When the pain lasts longer than the Tylenol. When you've tried the Advil and aspirin upsets your stomach, that's when you say, hey, there's nothing I can do. And see what your doctor recommends.
Introducing Aleve, a non-prescription strength of Anaprox, a fast-acting form of the medicine in naproxen, the #1 selling brand in its class for 10 years.
Only Aleve has 8 to 12-hour dosing. It lasts longer than extra-strength Tylenol. Advil isn't stronger. Yet Aleve is gentler to your stomach lining than aspirin. New Aleve.
There's nothing I wouldn't do for him.
New Aleve. All day strong, all day long.
Conrad.
Room 801.
Once they were in love with butter. But cholesterol closed the door on their dreams until...
William,
May I serve you?
I can't believe it's not butter.
I Can't Believe It's Not Butter is the first spread flavored with real sweet cream buttermilk for a fresh butter taste, but without the cholesterol.
Now nothing can disturb our love.
I Can't Believe It's Not Butter, the taste you love without the cholesterol.
At last, the whole idea of satellite television has come down to Earth. Introducing PrimeStar. PrimeStar sends the best of cable, pro sports, and hit movies to these new small dishes. There's no equipment to buy or maintain. PrimeStar's a service that does it all. All starting at the down-to-earth price of about $1 a day. PrimeStar, now coming to your area.
It's a great time to be silver because you're over 50 and you haven't lost your edge. Now there's a Centrum made just for you. Centrum Silver for your changing nutritional needs. Centrum Silver. It's a great time to be silver.
With the Senate leadership now threatening round-the-clock debates, it seemed that some of them at least were ready to begin talking specifics today. On the Senate floor, the discussion focused on how much major portions of the different plans would cost.
My bill does not provide for a government-run health insurance system. It is a voluntary system which builds upon the current private insurance market. Indeed, under my bill, one of the largest government programs, Medicaid, would be virtually abolished, and 25 million Americans who are now in the Medicaid program, a government program, would be taken out of that program, which would be virtually abolished, and would be encouraged to purchase private health insurance.
The Mitchell bill has 18 new taxes. The Mitchell bill has 40 new government regulatory agencies. The Mitchell bill has over 100 unfunded mandates. So it's a miracle what you can do with $1.1 trillion, which is what the Mitchell bill would spend in a decade. There are only two problems. Number one, it's not our money. And number two, the only way we can get it is by reaching into the pockets of the working men and women of America and taking it away.
Saying something over and over again does not by itself make it true. This is a desk before me, and if I repeat 1,000 times that this is a horse, it will not become a horse. It might persuade some people of that, because we all know that repetition can create that impression, but it does not make it so.
There is no comparison between the Dole bill and the Mitchell bill when it comes to cost containment. In the Dole bill, there simply is none. A family in 1998 making between $30,000 and $40,000 would pay $713 more in a non-universal system than with universal coverage, according to Lew and VHI. So businesses beware. Families beware. If we pass health insurance reform without effective cost containment, our problems are just beginning.
The federal government is going broke rapidly. Let us not start piling more expensive programs on it. They have $200 million per year for the Department of Labor to retrain and redeploy displaced health care workers. Well, we thought that when the Clinton bill was initially proposed that there wouldn't be any displacement or dislocation. And in addition, there are about 154 different training programs in any event, so why do we need more training programs?
This thing can't be passed. It can't be passed. We could be here for the next 2 months. We could come back for a lame duck session and start again next year. It's too big. It's too much. It's too expensive. It's too bureaucratic. And it's way too litigious.
When we come back, sinking billions of dollars of your money in another submarine.
With over 3,000 years of history to explore, you'll appreciate our rest areas. Call today, 1-800-44-MEXICO.
30 years ago, we promised to take care of each other.
Seems like only yesterday.
And today we're taking better care of our health with Ensure.
More than a vitamin supplement, Ensure is a delicious drink with all the nutrients adults need to help stay healthy, active, be energetic.
Drink Ensure as a meal.
Or in between meals.
Ensure is recommended #1 by doctors as a source of complete balanced nutrition.
Ensure. To your health, honey.
Oh, to our health.
Do you question your bladder control protection? The answer is new technology from Attens that you can sample for free.
What makes it so new?
Only new Attens has perma-dry fibers woven in to absorb faster.
Really?
To see for yourself, call 1-800-ATTENS now for a free sample by mail.
Do you have the right kind of protection for me?
Ask for a pad, guard, undergarment, or brief. We'll help you choose the right size.
Great.
Call for a free sample today and look for Attens in the store.
Our final report tonight is about job security, submarines, and your money. For our regular look at how the government chooses to spend your tax dollars, here's ABC's John Martin.
This is a Seawolf submarine under construction at the General Dynamics shipyard in Groton, Connecticut. The Seawolf is the world's most advanced submarine. It was designed during the Cold War to keep American subs ahead of the newest Soviet subs. Each Seawolf costs nearly $5 billion. 2 years ago, with the Cold War over, Congress cut the number of Seawolves ordered from 29 to 2, just the 2 under construction. But the Seawolf has been plagued by design flaws and cost overruns of nearly $2 billion on just those first 2 vessels, which are scheduled for completion by 1997. Nevertheless, the Pentagon is lobbying for a 3rd Seawolf, arguing, along with General Dynamics, that the United States will lose a vital shipbuilding technology.
If this plant is shut down, it's my opinion it'll never reopen. We will not have the capabilities to build submarines in the future if we shut down.
Not building the 3rd sub could cost 20,000 workers their jobs in Connecticut, where the economy is suffering from other defense cutbacks. But Senator John McCain of Arizona, the son of a submarine commander and a former Navy pilot himself, says building the 3rd Seawolf will waste money.
You cannot justify spending defense dollars simply for the maintenance or creation of jobs. That's the most inefficient and wasteful way to spend the taxpayers' dollars.
Senator McCain is trying to persuade Congress to cap spending this year on the 2 Seawolves under construction. But the more important issue, whether to build a 3rd Seawolf, won't be decided until next year. The question then will be whether to build a 3rd submarine to meet a threat that no longer exists at a cost of $3 to $5 billion of your money. John Martin, ABC News, Washington.
That's our report on World News Tonight. Later this evening on Nightline, can the president save the crime bill? I'm Forrest Sawyer. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
From the people who brought you these great shows comes a new comedy.
So you're okay? Are you okay? You okay?
It's She TV on the NYPD Blues Bottom Line.
I need a backup and
You okay?
Premiering Tuesday on ABC. Automobile Magazine looked at these remarkable cars and promptly declared Chrysler the hottest car company in America. The heat continues with Chrysler Plymouth's hottest clearance. Get a great low price and up to $1,000 in option package values on Plymouth Voyager and Grand Voyager. Plus, get $500 cash back. Even save on the luxurious Town & Country, Chrysler Plymouth's hottest clearance. See your Carolina Chrysler Plymouth dealer today, home of the minivan store.
Nuova Vita Italiana makes your favorite Italian food so easily. Over pasta, over chicken, even over pierogi. For Italian food, now you can use the Vita Italiana.
It's big, it's bold, it's big and juicy hot dogs from Oscar Mayer. Zestier, bursting with flavor.
What a hot dog!
Big and juicy. We're talking taste, big time.
Now at Belk, wrap yourself up in the thickest bath towel America makes. They're only $6.99 during the August Home Spectacular at Belk.
Outdoors with Bob Caldwell, Friday on News 13 at 6.